we start things off here. A couple of updates to get to. First and foremost, another Alabama assistant taking a different coaching job, and that goes to Charles Huff. The running backs coach for the Crimson Tide has accepted the head coaching position for the Marshall Thundering Herd, Marshall University. So kudos to Coach Huff. He did great things for the Crimson Tide, helping Najee Harris become a two-time 1,000-yard running back, a unanimous first-team All-America selection, and also the Doak Walker Award winner. So kudos to everything that Charles Huff did at the program, and he's now moving on to be a head coach at Marshall University. Also, along with that, how about Keegan Robinson, a young man of whom opted out prior to the start of the 2020 season due to coronavirus concerns. The young man, the sophomore out of Washington, D.C., the former four-star who came in the 2019 class, he hinted via social media that he is back with the program. He is back at Alabama. I was able to confirm this with the credible sources within the program that I know. Keegan Robinson got back to the program on last week. He has actually been working with a close friend of his in the D.C. area, and they've gotten him to be, well, the workouts have got him to be faster, bigger, stronger, so he is ready to be a marquee contributor for the 2021 for next season. Here you look at Crimson Tide football, and already with a big, huge running back room here, going to be awesome to see what Keegan Robinson can do, what he can bring, because in 2019 as a freshman, he was pretty darn good. 39 carries, 254 yards, 2 touchdowns. Coach Saban spoke on him having the juice at that position of running back. So pretty awesome here to look at Wanda Keegan Robinson hinting a return to the Crimson Tide for the 2021 campaign. But this leads us into topic number one of the conversation, and that being, does Nick Saban make the move to bring Jeremy Pruitt back to the program? We have all gotten the news today. We have been seeing the rumblings, the rumors, the conversation, the dialogue for quite some time now that the Tennessee Volunteers, the University of Tennessee, would be cutting ties, parting ways, firing one Jeremy Pruitt. It happened on the day. Pruitt has been fired after 3 years with the program. From 2018 to this past season, Pruitt, a 16-19 record with the Vols. He was 8-5 in the 2019 campaign, 5-3 in SEC play. And he was starting to really kind of get Tennessee back, or working his way to get them back into being a very competitive football program. But the reason for his termination from the school was some recruiting violations. There happened to be some recruiting violations going on with the program, and this happens a lot of times, especially when you get a program that is average, well, mediocre to average, and the program starts to hit on a lot of these 4- and 5-star guys that quite naturally or quite normally the program would not get. So then the NCAA goes, this program is starting to rise a little bit, and they're normally not this good. Let's see what's going on. Let's park our Winnebago here and see what's going on with this program and see if it's really on the up and up as it claims to be. And for Tennessee, it had gone from kind of not getting a lot of these 4- and 5-star athletes to the last few years here under Jeremy Pruitt. As we look at these recruiting rankings, 2018, Tennessee was ranked number 21 in the nation. Then 2019, it jumped from 21 to 13. And then 2020, it jumped from 13 to 10. And then this past, in the early recruiting cycle, for 2021, it's at number 15 nationally. So it started to get more of the big-time recruits, and a lot of these players it's not used to getting. So the NCAA, starts to go in and do some digging there, doing some work there at the Tennessee program, trying to see, are these guys really on the up and up? And what happened? Recruiting violations have hit Pruitt, and the program has decided to terminate not only him, but 9 other assistants for the Volunteers. Philip Fulmer, the athletic director, is also stepping down as well. Now, will Fulmer retire? That remains to be seen, but Pruitt has been terminated from the program. So what this mean here, what the meaning of this is, does Nick Saban, in the event that now the move has been made, Pruitt's gone from the Volunteers, does Nick Saban make the decision, does he make the call to bring Jeremy back to, or bring Coach Pruitt back to the University of Alabama? And the reason why I ask the question is, if Pruitt is presented with a show cause by the SEC, then the only way he could come back is as a defensive analyst, maybe as an on-field coach, maybe an inside linebackers coach, who knows. But if he's hit with a show cause by the SEC, then the main thing, or one of the only things he could do, is come back as a defensive analyst, especially with the Jacksonville Jaguars targeting Charlie Strong to potentially go down there to the NFL and link up with one Urban Meyer. So if Pruitt is hit with the show cause, what that would do is he would not be allowed to recruit. He would not be allowed to be a defensive coordinator, if I'm not mistaken. The only thing that he could do is either be an analyst or be an on-field coach. Now, also, Pruitt's buyout from the Volunteers was set at north of $12 million. So between $12 and $15 million, set north of $12 million, Pruitt's buyout. Now, if he is hit with the show cause, Tennessee can mitigate some of that money, and they don't have to pay him all of that money. But it becomes the fact of, what does the SEC, what does the conference hit Pruitt with? Now, if he is able to dodge and avoid the show cause, then this cup of tea becomes very interesting, because if he doesn't get hit with the calls, now he could be an analyst, he could be a on-field coach, and he can even possibly be a defensive coordinator. And as much good as Pete Golding has done at Alabama, and he's done good, and he has value, and as much as I have defended Coach Golding, and I have, when you look at the opportunity to possibly get a Jeremy Pruitt, that name alone, it's a bigger upgrade. It's a facelift. It's something better than what you would already have in Coach Golding. Coach Golding is good, but Coach Golding is not elite at this point right now. And for you as Alabama fans, as much as you guys have enjoyed the offense in the last few years, and you have, I mean, nobody within their wildest dreams thought that Mac Jones during the preseason would have the season that he ended up having. Very few people, and I count myself among the very few people saw Jones being a 4,000-yard passer, saw Jones being a consensus All-American, saw him being a Heisman finalist, saw him throwing for 41 touchdown passes and taking this team and winning a national championship. Very few people saw that. Very few people saw, Devontae Smith really having this type of a year that he had, winning the Heisman Trophy and things of that nature. And then very few people saw, Najee Harris going from dancing in the backfield to being an All-American, unanimous All-American, being the Doak Walker Award winner and having the success that he had. So while the offense has been fantastic, in the back of Nick Saban's mind, he's got to be thinking, can we get some conceivable way to have both? Can we have both the outstanding offense that frustrates opposing defenses and picks them apart, but can we also have the dominant, elite, revered, respected, fearsome defense? Is there some way possible that we can have both? And it's not just Coach Saban thinking that, it's U.S. fans thinking that also. Can we have the major offense? Can we have the explosive offense? But can we also have the defense that puts the fear of God in each opponent that this Crimson Tide program faces? So when you look at Coach Pruitt here for a minute, just off his accomplishments at Alabama as a defensive coordinator 2016 through 2017, this is what Pruitt did in those 2 years, and it's quite awesome he was able to do this. Coach Pruitt during those 2 years, the defense gave up an average of 12.5 points per game. It forced 114 sacks. We're looking at 43 forced turnovers, 13 of those returned for touchdowns. We're looking at 219 tackles for loss, 131 quarterback hurries, 25 forced fumbles. We're looking at 3 unanimous All-Americans, Jonathan Allen, Reuben Foster, and Minkah Fitzpatrick. All 3 guys were taken in the first round of their respective draft classes. And then also Pruitt named his last son, his baby boy, after 2 Alabama linebackers. His baby boy Flint was named after Ryan Anderson and Reuben Foster. So you can see the love and the appreciation that Alabama had for Pruitt and that Pruitt had for Alabama. But the question is, depending on what the SEC hits Pruitt with, does Coach Saban return him to Tuscaloosa in some form of defensive capacity? Thank you for watching Touchdown Alabama Magazine's YouTube channel. To continue to get the best in Alabama football content, subscribe here and turn on your notifications to stay connected with the hottest shows covering your Crimson Tide.